Well, good morning, guys. Guess what? It's rainy day project time. And anytime there's a rainy day, well, there hasn't been a rainy day in a really long time, we're going to do rock crushing stuff. I've got, we'll back up a little bit. So this guy here is a rock crusher I purchased directly from China through the ALIBABA app, I guess, through a company called Van Sen Machinery. So I ordered it. I said purchase, and poof, it appeared at my door. That's how easy it was. A little reluctant. I was kind of skeptical on the whole ordering process, but it was very easy. I said, yeah, send me this thing. And sure enough, it was like 2 months later, I got a call from my local delivery company, and they said, we got this thing. It's called a jaw crusher, and we want to deliver it. And they're like, what's a jaw crusher? Anyways, that's the technical term on this guy. It's a rock crushing, it's a jaw crusher, rock crusher. Anyways, did I say that enough times? All right, so I'm rounding about the 1 year mark on this bad boy, so I want to kind of give you an update on what I've seen, what kind of like wear machinery, wear parts, and just overall kind of impression on this thing. I'm also going to do some modifications to it. I've been working on some of the modifications kind of here and there. I haven't really filmed them, so I'll run them. I'll bring you up to speed right now on exactly what I've done. All right, so what I did soon after I got this thing is I actually made a shaker deck. So I've got the shaker deck permanently mounted to this machine now. I've got some car springs here, which allows it to shake independently on the for the crusher itself. It's powered by a motor over there. And then what I did was I actually extended the crusher deck out to house my conveyor belt system, which it's an aluminum conveyor, and it works really well. Like first try, right out of the gate. I'm not sure how I managed to do that, but it works great. I've also added a couple of trailer jacks on the backside to stabilize it once I have it in position. I haven't actually moved it from this position to see how well it's going to work. I also took a lot of advice from in the comments on modifying the shaker deck. So at one point I had the motor mounted directly to the base of the shaker deck, and that failed catastrophically a number of times. So what I did was I actually did a shaft with some it was like eccentric weights on there. I haven't quite locked them in yet, but that was based on feedback I got from you guys in the comments. So that I'm hoping that's going to work. I haven't quite welded up all of the things. I just tacked them in just to make sure everything's hunky-dory. So that's the modifications that I've done. Let's have a look at what how the machine has fared. Actually, the other thing here over here, we swing this little guy here, the rock monster, is a safety feature I added, because what was happening was a couple of rocks were like shooting out the top, particularly the blue or the green rocks. So what I did was I took a 20-pound propane tank, cut it down, and added it to the top. Now what this thing does is it basically catches the rocks from falling over and landing on the motor, which has happened a couple of times. It's taken a couple of direct hits. I lost a battery in the process. It took a direct hit and it cracked and everything kind of. Anyway, so the idea is this thing kind of bounces up and down, takes the shock of the rock. It's actually worked surprisingly well. My nose did fly off almost immediately. It took a rock. Unfortunately, it did not go into the rock crusher because you don't want metal in there. Anyways, okay, let's take a look at the crusher itself. Okay, so if the only thing I've noticed really closely is that some of the bolts with the lock nuts were loosening up. So those are the things that I noticed. I just had to kind of, give them a little bit of a turn. I'm going to mark them with like a Sharpie, because then you can tell if they're turning. If you ever look at those transport truck tires with those looks like little circle with like points on them, that's to indicate whether or not the tires have like untorqued themselves, because you don't want a tire flying off. When they say gear oil on the top, they actually mean grease. And what we've done is actually I modified the grease hole to put a Zerk fitting on there, so I can actually pump it full of grease. So like any kind of grease will do. And what I found is it actually leaks out, which is cool, because that's kind of like, it's natural cleansing. What else leaks out is stuff to naturally clean it. Anyways, so that there's, I don't know if it's the seal around this motor itself that's designed that way, or if it's just the way it is. So you can see my Zerk fittings here. You can see a couple of dents on the motor. The starter took a couple of hits as well. That seemed to be okay. The battery got hit and it is dead. But I've got another one of that. But otherwise, everything seems to be hunky-dory. You can see a little bit of discoloration on this little location here, which is the drain. Every time I've had to drain this thing, I've kind of had to push a little stick inside that thing because I don't know what accumulates in the cooling area, but that's what I've had to do. That air filter still hanging in there. That was, I think I torqued it a little bit too hard when I put it on. I actually ended up having the plastic crack a little bit, so I'm gonna give that a little bit more tape. I don't know if it's really crazy heavy, like I've added a lot of weight to it. So the tires look like they're underinflated when it's got full load on the tires. Any actual complaints with the machine itself, I'm really enjoying crushing rock. Rock crushing is very fun. It's, I don't know what it is. I just like crushing rocks. Okay, the fuel consumption on this thing, negligible. It just kind of just keep, like you fill this thing up and like you don't even really, it just keeps going. It just, once it starts, it just keeps going. Yeah, let's get this thing crushing rock again. I've got a whole bunch of interesting stuff to crush. I've got some patio stone, block, some rock, everything that kind of like, I just got a pile of hard stuff that I wanted to make into uniform size. So that's what we're gonna do today and hopefully get the automation of this machine. So I just have to load it and forget about it. I want it to like automatically shake itself into the crusher, crush it and spit it out the back. None of this fooling around with it. All right, the one thing I didn't go over is the wear on the crusher plates themselves. I bought a spare set of crusher plates because I was thinking it's a wear part. It's coming from China. It's on a slow boat. I want to have some spares in case I need some extra ones. So I bought the spare plates. I can't really tell the difference between running it a year and the brand new ones. The angle, like where the actual plate is, you can see that the sharpness of it is a little less sharp on the one that's worn than this one, but I can't really tell the difference between the brand new ones and the used ones. There's a little less paint on the used ones, but otherwise I don't really see a difference that much. I don't know, maybe when it wears a little bit more, I'll be able to tell that it's being used or consumed. But anyways, I got a spare plate just in case I need to replace them and get new plates on them. They're heavy. All right, I never thought I would need one of these, but I ended up getting one. This is like a fiberglass mat, and it's designed to prevent flammable stuff from burning when you're welding stuff. So I don't want the rubber mat on my conveyor belt catching fire, because that would really suck. I ended up getting this actually from Princess Auto. They have. Oh, actually, it was inexpensive. I don't know, like, I don't remember. That's how inexpensive it was. All right, so the plan is to create. So this is the create. We're gonna create stuff today. All right, so this is the spinny shaft thingy. You can tell I'm a fabricator already. The spinny shaft thingy that's going to shake the deck. And what I want to do is actually put a pulley that goes from this guy to my conveyor motor, so when the conveyor is running, the deck is shaking. So we're gonna just fake it. We're gonna just make it work, I guess. I don't remember where I left. I bought a bunch of belts. Oh, there's my idler pulley. All right, so the idler pulley, I need to make sure that thing is idling. Oh, that's the spinner. No, this is my drive wheel, and that's my idler pulley. So the idler pulley is going to be designed to keep my belt from shaking off. Where did I get? Where's it? And that's the one I got, but I think that's too big. Some trampoline springs, that'll work. All right, well, I got the belts all lined up. They're a little off centered, a little bit, not a big deal, I hope. I'm not sure I'm gonna need a belt tensioner once it starts shaking. I'm not sure exactly, so I'm probably gonna forego the belt, the spring tensioner. See, it might not shake itself off. I guess we're gonna find out. I think that's called a key stock. Anyways, I've got a new tool. It's really cool. I want to introduce you to my new tool. This is the Jepson dry cut metal saw. It's from Princess Auto. Go figure. Go Princess Auto. And it's pretty cool. I've been struggling with cutting steel because I don't really like the taste of it. And by taste of it, it's because when you're grinding, you kind of like the wheel itself disintegrates. This one doesn't. It's like some sort of space age metal cutting blade. You can see it. You can see the blade. It's dry cut, right? So it's got like an actual, looks like just a regular saw, but it cuts steel. It's just quite interesting, just the way it works. And it's not very loud, and it's clean, and it's like precise, and like it's almost like a razor blade finish when it's done. So I'm gonna show it to you. What else is cool about it is this thing here. So this is like the quick clamp system. So you get it close to where you want it, and then what you do is you hit the lock button, and you can further tighten it with the tightener. So release, get your big stock in there. So if I want to put my key stock, this is a little overkill for key stock, but nevertheless, you can so lock it, turn it, and then you can cut it off. And then there's also, you can do your angles here to do your 45. There's also a stop for your material at the end, so it doesn't actually go inside, which go like that. You can adjust so it doesn't kick off. Again, that's a little, I don't think you need it on this particular one, but that's kind of cool. The other thing is it's got like, I don't know what they are, little saw guides to get rid of the wobble, which on both sides. So you can see it's almost like a guide against it from wobbling. That thing is really slick. I've got a little bit of more of a build later on in this video. I'm actually going to try to make a rock bucket, so I'm going to cut some 1-inch rebar with this bad boy and some other stuff. So anyways, if you guys want to check a look at this saw, this is the Jepson Premium Super Dry Cutter. The link will be in the description below. You can get it at Princess Auto, which is awesome. All right, now that we got the rock monster all painted up, let's just give it a whirl, see what happens. Turn it on. I'm just gonna try the shaker deck and the conveyor. Let's try it. Let's start somewhere. Ooh. Uh-oh. Bigger motor, 3rd horsepower motor. All right, I think I know what I need. I think I need a tensioner on the conveyor belt, but I'm pleased with the way it's working so far on it. Belt tensioner to see if we can get them moving, and then more weight on the spinny. Okay, so we got our belt tensioner with our idler pulley there, and it's going to give us all tension on that wheel, and primarily this wheel, because we want to see that it's pushing on that guy. So that's nice and tight. That's nice and tight. Let's see if it works when we turn it on. Does it work? Does it work? Does it work? Come on, baby. You can see the spinning counterweight. I think I can put more weight on that. I am shaking, but I'm not shaking a whole heck of a lot. You can see the little pebbles working their way down. You put your lean on it, and you got that thing. I don't know. Who knew that making something off balance was so much work? So what I got is a piece of, it's about 3/8 of an inch, 1/2 inch plate steel. And the plan is to make a piece of weight. So what I want to do is actually I'm going to cut it into a chunk. Not even hot. That's wild to me. It's a little hot. It's not super hot. 12 centimeters. Two chunks of metal. That's probably gonna add me, those ones are a little toasty, probably because I cut them a couple times. It's probably a pound and a bit, so that's gonna add some centrifugal force. It's pretty, look how pretty that is. All right, instead of those chunks of steel that I had, I instead basically welded those toggle bolts on. I got them on both sides and I hung out really far past, and there's a lot of weight right at the end. And the reason I did that is because the square piece that I cut actually was going to hit the deck. I'd have to trim it back so much there would be no point actually putting that much weight on. So there, I can put that on, and what I can do with that is I can add more weight beside it because it's round. So we're gonna run that and see how much shaking's going on. I just got it tacked. Hopefully it doesn't come flying off. All right, hopefully we got a whole lot of shaking going on. Whole lot of shaking going on. Go. Keep adding weld, you get heavier. Okay, that's 2 toggle bolts on the shaft. Still spins it. I got a bigger motor if it doesn't. All right, let's see how much shaking going on now. It should be like double the fun. Good. I wonder if this thing shaking over here is doing something. What if I cut that off? If anything, it's doing something bad because it's going like this. It's going like this out in La La Land. Stage now where I think I am ready to rock, but the problem is I don't have a lot of rock. So what I want to do is actually build a rock bucket for my rock crusher, but I first want to cut up some material. All right, I'm gonna bring you guys up to speed on where we're at because I've skipped a lot of this stuff, so I want to show you. So what we've done is we've added an idler pulley that gives you a bell tensioner on the bottom. It does work. This setup works the way it as shown. And then what we have done is actually added another idler pulley to our shaker deck. And what we found is the slower it goes, the more movement we're getting in the material on the top. But now we're experiencing too much load on the motor, which is 1/3 of a horsepower, and it's tired. It gets really hot. So what we've decided to do is we've got this one over here, which is a 1.5 horsepower, and Grant is we're gonna put a switch on it because we've just kind of plugging it in and not plugging it in. And the idea behind this guy is we can actually just hot swap it because we got the bracket on there with our nuts and bolts. It should be able to just bolt on and we better to rock. So that's what we're gonna do. And the other thing with this thing is that it's a continuous duty motor and it's got a thermal shutoff. So in the event that it overheats, it'll just shut down before catastrophically failing, which is a good idea. And there's the button for the reset, which is convenient. All right, so we got our bigger motor on. We've got so this is a 3,000 RPM motor. We had a 1,700 RPM motor. So we're having some fun here. So that's our conveyor. Conveyor was going at the right speed. Our shaker deck was going crazy. So now we're just gonna make it a bigger pulley on the shaker deck to reduce the speed of the shaker. But we have no problem starting anymore. I think we have the right size motor this time. Let's see. Don't run it inside. Ha! Next day, and well, it wasn't working as I anticipated, so I brought it actually back into the shop and I did a little bit of modifications again. So what I did was actually change the cog on the shaker deck. What I was finding that was what was happening in the shop wasn't actually being reproduced in the field. When I had the shaker deck with the giant cog, which is this one, oh, this was the size of the cog, so it slowed the belt down significantly. But the thing is this cog is like cast iron or something. It's crazy heavy. So what I was thinking, what actually occurred was that giant cog combined with the weight of the rock on the shaker deck caused it to not shake at all. So that was a problem. So I think because and it had the weight on the one side. So what I did was actually did a smaller cog. It's going to run faster, and I actually ran it in the shop yesterday because I was like, I got to see this thing work. So I threw like a bucket of rocks on it and blocks, and it all traveled down into the shaker or into the rock crusher, and it worked. So I gotta run it again in the reality loading with the loader bucket. I also, if you can see the angle on this thing, I've increased the angle significantly. So it is on more of a slope. So that probably will help it too. And if I can't get it with the loader, because the problem I didn't make a giant slope with it was because my loader won't get up that high. I'm gonna make a ramp to get the loader like on the front wheel. So you just drive up and get a little higher, and I'll be able to dump my my load off onto the shaker deck easier than actually I'll be able to do it. Not even a question of easier. I can't get up that high. So that's currently my current situation. So hopefully this works. Okay, so the plan now that I've got the crusher pretty much dialed in, all I need is a bunch of rock. Now what I'm finding with this guy, this is the regular bucket from the excavator, is that I'm getting a lot of sand. So I want to make myself a rock bucket, because I've priced them out and they're crazy. So a rock bucket, a skeleton bucket, that's the plan now. So I'm gonna basically take a template of this bucket and make my own, because how hard can it be? It's just well, that's kind of big. It's just a bunch of metal stuck together, right? Let's template it and start cutting. All right, so the plan is to trace that bucket onto this piece of, gee, these things are heavy. All right, in order to start building my skeleton bucket, I first started with a piece of plywood. I took the plywood, I laid it on top of my existing bucket, and I traced it out. Once I had it traced out, I used my bandsaw and I cut the piece of plywood out. And then I used the sander and I smoothed out the edge of the original cut. Once I had that done, I used a little bit of a template, a marker, my finger as a guide, because I was going to use the drag tip on the plasma cutter. So then I recut the template to accommodate the actual gap between the drag tip and the plasma cutter, because otherwise you'd have too big of a piece. Once that was done, I used the template and I used a couple of clamps and attached it to the steel I was cutting, and then I used my plasma cutter and dragged it all the way around and made myself a relatively good cut. Once those side pieces were cut, I ended up having to cut the thicker material. So I actually turned her all the way up to 11. Well, it was up to 60 amp. So I was sever cutting just under 3/4 of an inch plate steel for the side pieces. And then once those were done, I ended up cutting the leading edge of the bucket, which ideally you use really hardened steel, but I just had some mild steel, so I used that. And that's what the teeth will be affixed to. And once that was done, I used the rest of what I had for plate steel, and I cut the back piece where my ears will attach to on the bucket receiver. All right, so as much as I like using plasma to cut things, it is dirty, it's messy, it's hot, did I mention it's messy? It's hot, it's loud, it's obnoxious. Anyways, if I can use, traditional method of cutting stuff, this is actually not traditional. This is non-traditional. This is the dry cut saw. This little bad boy I actually cut up because I want to do a little bit more fabrication. So I'm going to show you, this is a really thick walled steel. It's probably like 1/2 inch thick square tubing, and the plan is to cut it for the top rail of the bucket. Ideally you're cutting, like if you want precision cutting, especially with that piece there, because it's going to sit on the top, and the ears are going to it holds the whole thing together basically. So I want a really good cut here, that's a factory cut, so it should be still pretty good. And I want a good cut here. So this thing cuts like laser precision wise. It's clean, it's fast. So you've seen those chop saws that use those abrasive wheels. Those are dirty too. But like, have a look. I don't know if you guys can see how it's like polished finish, and that cut took very little time, and it's like a laser cut finish. And I you know what? I got gloves on, but I don't. It's not very hot. Like I can touch that like comfortably, so it doesn't get crazy hot, and like there's very little burr on the side of it. Like it's amazing. So what this does is actually it cuts kind of like a tooling machine. It actually cuts chips out. It pulls chips off of the blade. It's not actually taking the abrasiveness and using it as a medium to cut steel. So it's actually it's more of a refined cut. And this thing, you know what? It doesn't even taste funny when you use it. Like one of those abrasive saws. Anyways, so that's my top piece. So that everything's gonna get cleaned up, grinded, and we're almost ready to stick this thing together. It's the best when, you're deep inside that project and you've got something that's just repetitive to do. And you can just put your headphones on and your safety glasses and your mask, and you're just kind of inside your own head, mind wandering. You don't want to let it wander too far, because when you're using a grinder, bad things can happen. But that's my favorite part about projects, especially like this one that requires, you know, like grinding, a little bit of grinding. You can just kind of just, you know, shut everything out. Nobody comes and bugs you when you're grinding, because well, it's not the funnest thing to do. It's loud, it's dirty, it's kind of just sort of a little dangerous. So yeah, you can just zone out and get your stuff done. So this is the leading edge of the bucket. It's the cutting edge of the bucket, so I've kind of give it a little bit of an angle to cut, just like the existing bucket, and the teeth go on here. So I used a was it a 6-inch grinding wheel. It's 24 grit. I've been kind of grinding this thing for, well, probably close to 45 minutes or so, and she's pretty close. I don't really want to get that much more material, maybe a little bit more on this side, but yeah, Diablo has these crazy, I don't know what kind of material they are, but anyways, grinding wheels that take off a whole lot of material in a hurry. So they're premium aluminum oxide grinding and polishing. It's a 7-inch disc. Yeah, it's even better. 24 grit. I don't know if you get any harsher than that. You get down low to enough grit, you're at like a brick. All right. Well, you want to see how I learn? By doing. I got a little bit of a crash course from Dennis, and well, I'm going to give it a whirl by myself. This is the first official unsupervised stick weld. He told me to get into a comfortable position. There's nothing comfortable about doing this. All right, that's it. That's it, that's all you gotta do. And then the end of that thing is the stinger or something. And he says you light it like a match. And he said, what else did he say? I'm going over the things he said. If it creates slag, you drag. Which that means is when you got your spark or your arc or whatever, you're pulling away from it because it's creating slag on top of your weld. Because otherwise you'd be pushing your slag into the weld, creating impurities, whatever that means. So what I'm going to do is I've cleaned this little edge here, and my plan is to weld this. And what else did he tell me? Get comfortable. How do you get comfortable? Get comfortable with this flaming stick. All right, okay. So the tip of that thing starts here. There's no buttons on this thing. Has anybody else out there stick welded before? I feel like I'm woefully unqualified for this. All right, let's just do it. He says you can get 6 inches out of this thing. So you gotta like, and then you gotta keep the handle parallel with your weld. Let's do this. Let's do this. Are you ready? Comfortable, 2 hands, sparking. I don't know. Like I said, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm going to show you guys because maybe you guys can tell me if this is good. This is my weld. Oh, I think that's pretty good. Like a blind guy, I'd be happy to see that. There's where I started. That looked like turd. Yeah, that looks like turd. And this looks pretty good. I don't know. Alright, so I got the front of the teeth welded on. I want to get the back of the teeth. Now I realize they sell these adapters that kind of slide in there, and then the teeth kind of have that roll pin on them, but well, I didn't want to buy those, so I'm going to make do. So what I'm going to actually do is create sort of a slot, like a piece of metal that's going to slide in there. So I've got it preloaded on my my Jepson dry cutter, so I'm just going to cut myself a piece. Come on! Alright, we got it all welded up. I'm just making sure it's going to fit. There's a little bit of splatter that should not affect it. I'm just looking at this other wedge coupler here. This is the existing bucket, so just got to fit it on. And away we go. We're going to give this thing a whirl. I'm pretty excited. right, so this is the task at hand. This is what I'm dealing with here. This is an old rock pile, probably from like 100 years ago. And it's all kind of messed up in some topsoil. So what I want to do is be able to just kind of sift these guys out without doing too much work. They're like, it's just peppered in here. All along here, there's just a crazy amount of rock all the way over to here. And yeah, so there's a tree in the way too. That's how old this thing is, but that's an ash tree that has to come out anyways. But all along here, all along here, all along over here. But yeah, there's just rock everywhere. So let's, I want to try digging here just to see how many rocks I can get. I'm just going to bring the dump trailer over and load them up as I go. Let's see how much rock we can get. Look at these glorious, glorious rocks. Well, I think it's working pretty good. The only thing I think I need to add some cross members, because what's happening is the rocks are shifting, and then I'm losing a lot of the smaller, like this one here, like it doesn't fit this way, but it fits this way. So I think what I got to do is actually weld in some, maybe I'll leave this open, leave this top open, and then actually weld another couple of bars here to make myself a little bit more strainy. So, but my welds are holding up, nothing's broken, nothing even looks like it's cracked or anything. I think we're in good shape. And this is the load of rock so far, which is a crazy, like if you had to lift that, oh my, that's a good load. I'm just going to try it out on clay now. Here's a load of clay sand that I was digging up, and there's a lot of rock in it. I'm going to see if it actually works better on the clay sand. You can see this is very chunky, very, like, that's not a rock, that's clay. Just to break it up and see if I can get some rock out of this pile. All right, took some bars and I welded in some 4-inch spacers. These are probably about a 1/2-inch square rod, and I put it on a diamond so the dirt hits here and just follows through. I should be able to catch a whole lot more 4-inch rocks that way, because what I was finding was the rock would go here, even if it was like this long, but skinny, it would find its way to turn around and go right through. So I should catch more with this setup. Well, with the new spacers, that worked pretty good. There wasn't that many rocks in that pile. Sometimes it's just easier to grab it and throw it in. But yeah, that's pretty much got all the rocks out of that pile. Well, I'm going to say that works pretty good. The modifications of actually adding the spacers for the only 4-inch material seems to work really well. I'm getting a lot more material. I think in the future what I'm going to actually do is make a slide-in filter, so depending on what type of material I'm digging and what size of rock I want to recover, I could just slide in almost like a cassette, and it just, you know, sits inside the bucket, so you can just kind of interchange them, maybe like a little keeper, a little metal pin to hold it in there, and then you can just grab, shake, and whatever type of material you want to get, whatever size of material you want to get. I don't actually want to weld any more chunks of permanent steel in there, but it'd be nice to have some sort of a removable screen, maybe like 2-inch squares or even like 3-inch squares, just kind of like put it on there. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this fabrication episode. I certainly did. This is very cool. I like doing this. So if you guys want to see more of this, be sure to comment down below, and I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and join me on the next one.